Hello everyone, welcome to weekly SIG Autoscaling meeting for Monday, 3rd of February 2025. Got a few items on the agenda. Mohammed, do you want to kick us off?
Yes, thanks. So I think I'd like to share my screen in order to be able to better explain the issue at hand here.
Sure.
So this is a cluster, and these are the node pools that back this cluster. This is one of them. We don't control.
Can I just be clear? Like, this meeting is recorded, so just make sure you're not. As long as you're happy, you're not sharing anything confidential.
I understand. Sure, I know. So nobody can control what is in this instance group. Google does. So any suggested solution or any discussion should be running inside what Google does and what it gives us to work with. This instance group, it has a template that also Google controls. And inside this template, there is this variable, autoscaler environment variables. This is where the cluster autoscaler in the GCP side expects to find information about extended resource. This is where the code expects to find information. This is untouchable by a user. So there is nothing that we can do as users to put anything inside this variable. So it's basically broken. It's a broken implementation, right? We had emails. Yeah, Kuba, please. Kuba, you are raising your hand and you are muted. Okay, I'll continue. So the issue here and what I'm trying to fix with the pull request that I sent is to move reading of autoscaler extended resources variables from this to somewhere else that Google allows us to set, right? And the only thing that Google copies are the Kubernetes labels. This is the only thing that a user controls that Google will pass in the kubeenv to the cluster autoscaler, right? So this is what I'm discussing here. And so anything that passes by restrictions of what Google allows. So for example, there was a question of why I am using slashes and not dashes. And the answer is that in a Kubernetes label, you can only put one dash at most, right? So we are restricted by this limitation when we are talking about describing extended resources to cluster autoscaler on GCP side, right? Yes, Kuba, you're...
Is it working now? I'm sorry.
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. Okay, so just one clarification here.
Yes.
Are you using a GKE cluster? Are you using just hosting your own Kubernetes on GCE? Because
no, this is the GCE. This is JKE.
Yes. So see, like, well, it's meant not to be controllable in GKE, and the open source cluster autoscaler that you're talking about is not the GKE cluster autoscaler. It's only really meant and supported in the use case where it's used on bare GCE in a self-hosted Kubernetes cluster, and in particular, then the instance template you fully control. There is no GKE above you messing up the instance template during upgrades. It's just like you configure everything through the instance template. This is the sort of the API for the GCE cloud cluster autoscaler. Now you are trying to use the GCE cluster autoscaler in GKE, which is not something that is supported. And you are running into issues, and we potentially can fix these issues upstream. Can you still hear me? Because now my headphones died.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
So we can potentially fix this issue upstream, but it's not like it might not make sense. And then like this is why I asked
Can you please explain what do you mean by?
you are
Can you
considering
please
this using
elaborate
a
on
fork,
what do you mean?
all of this could be solved very easily using a fork. And even if we were to merge your changes today, you wouldn't get a working image with them until like probably a month and a half from now, if the bug happens, and then when the next patch releases come out. So it doesn't address the urgency issue either. I'm just not sure if we can, like, definitely the PR can probably still go in. We just need to converge on the like which labels to use. But just like a meta comment, this is not something like not a supported setup, not from the open source class autoscaler perspective, and not from the GKE perspective either.
Okay. Also, Google's formal response is that this is not working also in GKE by Google's implementation.
Oh, now I can't hear. Now I'm sorry. Today is not my day.
So on both fronts, GCE, GKE, whatever, it's not working. So
I think it's just worth just waiting until Kuba is back with working audio.
Okay, that's one thing. Also, I'd like to emphasize one other point around the discussion for this to work or this not to work, and the discussion for dynamic resource allocation as an alternative. Dynamic resource allocation is not mutually exclusive with extended resources. There is nothing in, as far as I can see, and please correct me if I'm wrong, dynamic resource allocation is not even scheduled for deprecation. Extended resources. So dynamic resource allocation is not a replacement. They are not mutually exclusive. And if cluster autoscaler works everywhere, AWS, because we use it in AWS, we use it in Azure. If it works fine with extended resources, it should work on all implementations. Yes, yes, Jack, you raise your hand.
Yeah, I can confirm that what you said is true. The plans for extended resources and DRA are to coexist indefinitely. There are no plans to replace.
Yes, it's just that like what I meant by DRA being a future possible replacement is that there are plans of sort of automatically handling extended resources via DRA. So like the same implementation handle both, and but that's not the main blocker here. Definitely, I agree that there's no reason to wait until all of that lands with implementing the other thing.
And also, I'd like to emphasize one thing around the discussion of what format do we use. We don't have options. I explained this. I'm not sure if you heard me while you were fixing your mic. What we are doing is what Google allows us to set. Google only allows us to set this variable that it does not allow us to set.
Again, if you were to host this on GCE, you fully control this variable. You set it yourself.
Okay. So what you are saying is that the issue is that we are using GKE, not GCE.
The issue is that you're using the GCE cluster autoscaler in a GKE cluster, yes.
Because the GKE cluster autoscaler also does not scale from zero. And this is the formal Google response.
Well, it should for all of the resources that GKE provisions for you. If it doesn't, then it's definitely a bug that we should handle internally.
Yes, like I can share with you the email now, and I can share with you the name of the engineer who sent the email. But, right, the answer is it's not working. We know it's not working.
Sure. If we are talking about like a device provisioned by GKE and it's not working with the GKE cluster.
No, it's not divided. No, it is provisioned by us. We control the storage. So we set extended resources for storage, and we have components that does this.
Yes. Okay. Then, I mean, in these scenarios, there are corner cases even in GKE. I mean, we cannot really support every use case. I mean, we have channels for feature requests. And I'm not sure
I'm not talking about an edge case. I'm not doing something strange. I'm talking about extended resources not working on GKE. Period. Extended resources. Put it in your in your pod request. It doesn't scale.
Can we put the? I guess my view would be, can we put the GKE discussion to the side, since that is something that people on this call cannot control. I guess
And
Jack
same for the open source PR, by the way. Like, it's just that if it's touching GKE directly and you have issue with that, it should go to the GKE side of things.
Okay, so the response here is that I should use GCE, and GCE should allow us to control anything, right?
Yes, yes. I mean, that's the
and this includes the autoscaler environment variable part. in
yes,
GCE.
like you fully control this template. You create it yourself. You control Cube and fully. It's all up to you. On the other side, you don't get the upgrades, right? Which would mess it up. I would seriously explore though, like if I'm like my actual suggestion here would be to explore using a fork. Like if the open source CA is working in a GK cluster for you mostly, it's just that you're having this one issue. It should be very simple. I mean, fairly simple to just fork it, do the change that you need, build it, and deploy it in the cluster.
Yes, but keeping up with, we have a huge infra, and this huge infra runs on AWS, Azure, and GCP, right? And
like you're deploying a version of CA right now, right? That would only change that. Like that's not officially supported by either of the cloud providers. You're deploying it yourself, right? So
yes, we are deploying it ourselves, but now this means that instead of having same build pipeline and same deployment procedures everywhere, we now have to do a special build pipeline for the fork that we have right? Because practically this is what we are doing now, and this is not scaling operationally. Currently, we are running this, and this fix is working for us, but it doesn't scale operationally.
I see.
Jack, you've had your hand up for a bit.
Yeah, well, I just wanted, because we're recording for posterity, I wanted to sort of generalize this. This is the same situation that I think most, I shouldn't speak for most, but I can say that the same situation exists for Azure customers as well. The managed cluster service contract, sort of by design, is an opinionated subset of the overall set of Kubernetes functionality and behaviors and outcomes, as a way of trying to balance the supported aspect of taking on a managed service like that with providing users what they want. And so you're always going to run into situations where certain behaviors, I'm not sure, Mohammed, if you're doing really innovative stuff or if you feel like this is like fundamental things that should be handled by your managed service provider, but you're going to run into situations where those behaviors aren't available in the managed service. And so let me just re-clarify what Kuba's talking. Hopefully it'll help folks who are watching the recording or you. Using something like GCE or in Azure or in AWS, like building your own Kubernetes, allows you to completely set everything up from scratch the way you want at the cost of having to do all that work. So when you're demonstrating those particular environment variables that are just a part of the GKE sort of product offering, those all go away if you're building your own Kubernetes and hosting it on GCE. So you can do anything you want. And these cluster autoscaler providers tend to be community-driven products that are geared and designed to work with those types of infrastructure solutions. And then the managed service version of that tends to be something that is managed by engineers working on the managed service. I just want to, even though I'm rambling a little bit, I just want to point out that the situation you're in, Mohammed, is general across Azure, across cloud providers. It's not specific to GKE. It's not specific to one or the other. So the fork is probably the best short-term solution. If you have a support ticket open with GKE to drive the changes you want in the extended resource part of the equation, maybe the fork will be temporary until that solution is fixed, if that's a reasonable thing that can be identified as a bug.
Okay, thanks for clarification. Thank you.
Anything you want to add, Elnico?
Yeah, +1 to what Jack is saying, and I just wanted to add for the posterity of the recording and everything. Like, first of all, Mohammed, like, it sounds like what you're going through is really frustrating, and I empathize with that completely. But I did want to kind of bring it up that we're open source developers collaborating from many different organizations to build a common piece of technology. And it really sounds like you're running into like a product issue with the differences between GKE and GCE. And I think as much as any of us here would like to help you, like it sounds like the answers you're looking for are probably located with the GKE and kind of like your association or your organization's kind of like contractual obligations with them. So I think as much as we'd all like to help you fix this, we're just kind of collaborating here, and you're working on a piece that's like, it's hitting this managed service, right? So you're running into some of what Google's policies are and everything. So anyways, I just wanted to share that for the sake of the recording.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think I'd just briefly like to add or reiterate one of the points that Kuba made on the PR as well of like I know you addressed why the naming of the labels has to be the way it is, again because you're sort of running into Google limitations, but the alignment with Carpenter going forward is very much what we have committed to with the two sub projects as part of the SIG. So that bit for us, if we were to look at something like this, it would be like non-negotiable to make sure that we have matching behavior between the two. Cool. Anything else on this subject?
No, thank you.
Cool. Awesome. Just a quick one from me. I have raised the draft PR for the annual SIG report. I have included some very basic stuff, placeholder stuff there. If people want to fire in comments on bits they would like to call out, flesh out some more detail, I'd put the array there. But if you're wanting to add some more detail to that, Kuba and Jack, then yeah, more the merrier. Would really like to get some of the community's sort of feedback on what they're proud of this year, / what areas need help with. And Kuba again.
Yep, final ones from me. I finally finished cutting all of the post MVP tasks for DRA. Some already taken, some by the community, some I picked for myself, the more complex ones. But there is a ton of work to do if you want to support this fully. There's also a bit of prioritization to do, like what we want to fit in the next release. I'm not sure how much bandwidth we'll have from our side for the next release yet. Should have a clear picture in like a month, but that's cutting it very close. So it's just that probably the more we can pick up, the better the next release will be. The most critical ones are the Delta snapshot and probably the refactor, because I am like the Polis processor refactor. I'm quite afraid of leaving things as they are now with the unschedulable pod state split between two places. So I will try to take care of those things that I think are critical for the next release, and anything else that the community can pick up would be a huge help. There's a list. I think I put a lot into the descriptions. Just ping me on Slack or tag me in the issues. I'll explain more.
Do you think it's worth pulling together just a project board to make it a bit easier for people looking to help out understand like what's critical, what's nice to have?
What now? Sorry. What was that? Like, what are you suggesting?
Using GitHub project boards.
Oh, I'm actually not familiar with that at all. So if you think it would help here, and if you could set it up, or I can learn it, but probably might take a while, given my other commitments. Sounds like it would help. I'm just not that familiar with the GitHub tooling itself. Jack?
I might have a resource I can donate to that effort. And I would say that this should probably be beneficial for many releases going forward. So it wouldn't just be the post MVP, but we've got DRA work in the pipeline for 133. So I think the pattern is going to be the cluster autoscaler and other sort of supportive components are always going to follow along either at the end of that release cycle or one release or two releases behind. That's going to be the norm. So I think having a project board will help for like many releases going forward. So I'll check in on that.
That would be great.
Awesome. Thanks very much. Anything else from anyone else on that, or anything else? That's the end of the agenda. Cool. In that case, thanks very much, everyone, for attending, and see you all next week.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.